What is up, guys? Adam here, and in today's video we are finally going to be assembling the Cr125. If you guys haven't been following along, we've been working on this Cr125 since the summer of 2018, so we're finally ready to assemble. If you guys see any products or tools throughout this video that you guys might want to get, go down below and I'll have them linked in the description. If you guys purchase them through those links, I do get a small credit that goes towards me making more videos for you guys. So I'd really appreciate that. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and get to work on the bike. If you guys enjoy the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up when you're done watching. Okay guys, so before I put on the upper engine mounts, I want to show you guys a little trick here. I have the bolts bagged and tagged already, but in case I didn't, or if I couldn't remember which bolt went to where, if the bolts were different sizes, I could go ahead and check this. So what I would need is just a digital caliper. It doesn't have to be super accurate. And then I can pull up the OEM part schematic. And what I'll do is I'll just highlight it, and then you can see the size here is 8x50. So then to just verify this, I'll take my caliper, put it in metric, and then I'll measure the length of the bolt from the base of the head. That'll give me the accurate length measurement, and you can see we're getting right around 50 millimeters. It doesn't have to be right on, but somewhere in that range. And then I'll measure the width here, and for the width we get just about 8 as well, so I know this is going to be the right bolt here. And then I'll put a little bit of thread locker on all of these upper engine mounts as well, and then torque them down to 25 foot-pounds. Okay guys, so I went ahead and I upgraded to a 2017 Cr125 swing arm, and the reason I did this is because this swing arm is going to be a little bit lighter than the OEM swing arm. And as you can see, there's a pretty gnarly dent in the old one, so I definitely didn't want to put a dented swing arm on this new bike, even though it's all cleaned up and everything. And this swing arm, it looks brand new, and it has the, it's still got the original logo on it, and there's not even barely a chip on this logo. There's like one dirt mark. So where I got this swing arm from, guys, is called OEM dirt bike parts, and instead of going to eBay or something for a used part, I go to them because they have pretty much everything and it's in really good condition. Like the bearings on these, don't even need to replace the bearings, and they sell their stuff about half of OEM prices, so I don't have to pay that ridiculous $700 or so for a new swing arm. I can get this one from OEM dirt bike parts for a pretty fair price. So I'll have a link for you guys down below where you can check out OEM dirt bike parts. And I definitely recommend you guys put some waterproof grease on your swing arm pivot bolt. These things can get stuck in there really easy. I remember when I was tearing this bike apart, this one was seized really bad. And then I'll just put up some more grease into the swing arm bearings here. So if any of you guys are thinking of going up to this swing arm here, you will need a new chain slider, and you'll have to get the one for a 2014 and up Cr125 or 450R. Then I also picked up a 2017 CRF 250R chain guide. I got the Acerbis one, and this is the one I usually use, so I'll explain why later. And then I also picked up all the little OEM hardware to bolt down that chain slider. So as I install my chain slider here, I'm going to take my sprocket and just make sure that it's going to have enough clearance with this different style chain slider. And as you guys can see, it is rubbing up against it right now, but I think once I get that rear wheel on there and the swing arm goes up a little bit, I'll have enough clearance. And if I need to, I can always take a file to it to get a little bit more space. So the reason why I went with the Acerbis chain slider and why I like them is because it has the removable bottom here, so if it ever wears out, I can just replace this bottom piece without having to replace the whole thing, so I'll save a little bit of money there. And it does have vertical fasteners, so they don't go in from the sides like this, and if they did, when the chain wears down, it'll actually wear out that chain quicker because it contacts the metal. Alright, and now I'm going to go ahead and remove my steering stem bearing races and install the new races and bearings into the steering stem as well as the triple clamps. I'm not going to go super into depth on this in this video because I'm planning on making a video specifically on this and how you guys can do this without a ton of special tools. So I'm just going to explain briefly today. Now that I got all my bearings and races out, I'm going to install the new ones here with this kit that I picked up. So I'm going to install the races first into the steering stem. Press in this bearing. I'm going to be using a Tusk steering stem bearing press, and I'll just find the collet that'll fit onto the outer edge of the race, and then I'll insert the press through on top of that collet there, and then I'll put this kind of locking piece on the bottom, and it'll press as I tighten it down. It'll press together, pushing that race in. And then the process for doing the bottom one is going to be the exact same, except I'll just have the collet on the bottom side. I want to get this up a little bit higher, so I'm just going to loosen this tool so I can make it to that next latch. There, now I'm popped in. If you guys haven't done a steering stem bearing before, it's kind of cool. They have the outer race here and then a tapered roller bearing that fits into that outer race, and they roll inside of each other, so it's different than a normal bearing that would come as one piece. And then our bottom bearing goes on the lower triple clamp, so I'll start off with the seal here, and then I'm going to show you guys how I actually removed this bearing from the triple clamp. I did it in another video when I Cerakoted them. So basically I just took a chisel and I pressed off the bottom bearing. Then I'll be using another tusk tool to press this bearing on there the rest of the way. So I'll take a collet on here that lines up with the inside race of the bearing, not the outer race. Because if you get on that outer race, it's pretty flimsy here and you can break it. So you want to be on the inner race, and then you'll just put this rod over and bang it on there. Also set a socket under here just so I don't push the steering stem out of here. And the last thing I need to do before we can install the triple clamps is just pack this bearing up with some grease here. And then for now, I'm just going to snug it down with a spanner wrench. I don't want to get it too tight because I got to make sure I have the steering at the right tension once I have the bars on there. And then I'll hold off on tightening down this nut until I set my steering tension. Now I'll go ahead and slide my fork through the triple clamps here. And I usually start off by trying to line up my forks, both forks, with that line right there so I know they're even. As far as my suspension goes, I like to have it starting at the OEM setting and then go off from there. So I'm going to talk to you about your adjustments here. So this is your compression adjuster. And basically what this does is it controls how hard it is to compress your shock together. So if this was loose, there would be a lot of fluid flowing through and it would be pretty easy to compress. Or if it was tight, it would be really hard to compress. So what I'm going to do to get to the OEM setting is I'm going to tighten down this adjuster all the way in, and then I'm going to go out 8 clicks because that's the OEM setting. 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now I'm at the OEM setting of 8. It's probably going to be a little bit loose for me, but I like to start there, have a good baseline. This is just an air bleeder screw, so sometimes we'll get air trapped in here. There was just a little bit of air in there, but if you get too much air in there, you just want to check it periodically because it will mess with your suspension settings. Okay guys, we're now looking at the bottom of the other shock that I haven't put on yet, and this is your rebound adjuster. So basically what that is after you compress the shock together, it's how quickly the shock goes back out. So if this is loose, it's basically going to be the opposite of your compression. If it's loose, there's going to be more oil flow and it's going to go back up quicker. If it's closed off all the way, it's going to be a slower draw outwards. But the OEM spec for this, I already have it clicked all the way in. It's just going to be 12 clicks. So it's important to torque your fork pinch bolts down to the manufacturer's specification. If you get them too tight, it'll actually affect the internals of the fork as they go up and down, or if too loose, obviously your fork tube's going to be sliding in the triple clamps. Alright, I'm just going to put on this upper shock mounting bolt, and then that's going to be it for today, guys. So if you guys enjoyed the video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me, and I will catch you next week.